Hello everybody, and today I've got something a little bit more special for you. I mentioned in a previous video I've been working on quite a few Nightblade builds, and I posted some footage of Nightblade bombing a little while ago, and over Mid-Year Mayhem, the White Strike event, I have really gotten into this build. I think I've gotten it near perfected for what I have, and I wanted to come share it with all of you. So, first things first, we're a Dark Elf. We have 64 points into our Magicka. We are very glass cannon on this build. As you can see here, our health is very low at 24k. But this penetration, this spell damage, this critical, you're going to hit like a truck, and we're not even buffed up yet. So, we're going to ideally want to be stage 2 vampirism for this because that's going to give us extra damage when we come out of stealth. We have the Shadow Mundus. This is going to be very important for your critical damage. You're going to want this on 110%. We would use the Bewitched Sugar Skulls, get all of our max stats up. Your recovery is going to suck no matter what. Your Glass Cannon, you want to do the maximum amount of damage. Likely you're going to die regardless unless you're playing with an organized group. But this build is perfected highly towards solo play, which is what I like to do. I like to run around and just be a nuisance. So let's hop right into it. 2 pieces of Balorg. One is going to be light. The other is going to be medium. You're going to want them both in divines with maximum magicka. Of course, we need 5 pieces of Vicious Death, the big bombing set. You can't go wrong with it. They're all going to be max magicka and divines. Then we're going to use 3 pieces on the jewelry. All jewelry pieces are infused with maximum weapon and spell damage enchantments. We're using Dark Convergence, 3 pieces here, and then we're going to use an Inferno Staff on the back bar with the Decisive trait and a weapon damage enchantment. Now I hear you asking why Decisive? Because when you're playing at a range and you're building up your ultimate, you just poke people with this and you're going to get some extra ultimate. You don't really necessarily need to heal that well because all you're going to do is cloak and run away and heal. So if you survive, if you just need to get your ultimate back up, this is the best way you can do it. Now we use this on the back bar only to proc Dark Convergence, because what really does the bombing for us is our Master's Greatsword. You have this Nirnhound, and you have a weapon damage enchantment. The only reason you should not use a Greatsword in any scenario is if you are a Khajiit. Then you will want to use a Great Axe, the two-handed axe. That's going to give you more critical damage, and that race is going to play into more critical damage. That is the only way you can kind of top off this build to be a min-max. Weapon damage enchantment, Nirnhound. And we use this because every person caught in your direct damage cleave is going to increase that damage by 1550 for each player. So once you start hitting a bunch of people with this, it does a crazy amount of damage. Especially when you're spec'd into weapon damage like this. You're going to hit big numbers flat out, and then your crit numbers are going to be just off the charts. I mean, you're going to be doing a lot of damage. It's real good. Let's hop into our skills real quick. We use Carve instead of Brawler. The reason I use Carve instead of Brawler is because of the CP choices that we have on this build. I will elaborate on them once we get there, and it will make a lot more sense. It applies a nice dot, and if you hit it up to 3 times for whatever reason, your people don't blow up by then, you're going to have 32 seconds of a bleed dot, and this skill is going to give you a damage shield regardless. The damage shield just won't scale off of how many players you're hitting. We use Mirage. This is a way to give ourselves minor evasion, or major evasion and minor resolve. It's going to keep you alive. Less damage taken keeps you alive. It's a very simple concept that we like to go over in PvP is the more ways you have to resist damage, the better chance you have at surviving any encounter you get into. Now this, taking any direct damage every like half second, you really shouldn't need this, but it's going to reduce the cost of your roll dodges, so maybe you end up using it to get out. It's a real mathematical thing that we're not going to delve deep into because it's just not that important. Concealed weapon. We don't use this skill at all as an active ability, but we have it for that passive of leaving sneak, invisibility, or minor expedition while you're in combat. Your damage is increased by a flat 10%. Why is this a skill? Why is this allowed? I don't know. It's there and we use it. Of course, that minor expedition on this bar is just very amazing. You're going to proc up and you switch to this bar and you just zoom in there and blow people up. Camo Hunter. We have this for the critical buff and the minor berserk from hitting critical damage on an enemy's flank. So when you're bombing a big group and you happen to get behind them, there's no way that this isn't going to proc and you're just going to get an extra 5%, damage for free. Forward momentum. We don't need the recovery from this, we only want the major brutality and sorcery, but of course that snare removal is nice too. Soul Tether. When you're doing a Magicka Nightblade bomb, Soul Tether is basically your bread and butter. You're going to place your bomb, you're going to run in, you're going to smack up Soul Tether. And really, this is something you can change as you need it. If you have very good confidence that you're going to hit, you can go ahead and use Dawnbreaker. It's going to hit harder. Anyone who's a vampire or werewolf is basically just going to go boom for free. But overall, Soul Tether is kind of a more solid option that we stay with. Now on our back bar, of course, this is our Fire Destro Staff. We have Shrewd Offering. This is our burst heal. We're going to cloak. We're going to run away with this. It's just going to keep us right back up to full. Shadowy Disguise. Of course, this is our cloak. And it's going to make our next direct damage attack used in 3 seconds always be a critical strike. Now that always being a critical strike is very important. Proximity detonation. This is, of course, you're a bomber. You need this. Anyone who's in the bomb is going to go boom. And the more people who are in your bomb, the bigger the bomb is. Volcanic Ruin. This is what we use to proc Dark Convergence. Now, it doesn't look like it hits very hard, but it stuns people, and that's the big thing. Because this stun will proc separately from the pull on Dark Convergence. So the people in Dark Convergence will get pulled in, the Volcanic Ruin will proc off after that 2 seconds, and then those people are stunned, they're in your bomb, they can't get out. The damage does actually kill people sometimes, which is very surprising to see, but it does happen. Channeled Acceleration. This is, of course, another obvious one. Minor Force for 1 minute. That's critical damage for 10% for just an entire minute for proccing this one skill. And of course, the Major Expedition. You proc this, you run in, they go boom. Now, we do have Eye of the Flame as a backbar ultimate. Now, sometimes when it's very laggy in Cyrodiil or Imperial City, wherever you're bombing, you can't get a reliable Soul Tether, you can't get a reliable Dawnbreaker. Eye of the Flame as your Destro Staff ult works like a charm. It's not going to be better at bursting them than Soul Tether or Dawnbreaker, but if you can't rely on your burst because of the performance, this will work perfectly fine and it will still kill people. It's just theoretically maybe more of a 5%, 5 to 10%, of a difference. It's not going to be instant, it's not going to be as bursty, but it's going to do the job if it's too laggy. Let's hop into our CP here. Green Tree, I always say do what you want here. I use Gifted Rider, Liquid Efficiency, Rationer, and Steed's Blessing. Blue tree is important, of course. Fighting finesse, we want to do more critical damage. Occult overload. Now, this got nerfed a while back, and some people don't think it's worth using at all anymore. But that's why we use Carve. When we use Carve, this puts the enemy under a status effect of hemorrhaging. Hemorrhaging reduces their HP alongside having that bleed effect on them. So when people die who are hit by your Carve, they're going to explode for all this extra damage. And when they explode, they're going to apply a random status effect to each enemy hit. Any enemy that dies under the effect of a status effect is going to keep proccing Occult Overload. So you're going to have your Vicious Death, you're going to have your Bomb, you're going to have your Dark Convergence pulling everybody in. There is so much damage when you put all these things together that they wipe just whole groups of people. It is nice, it is clean, it is just unbelievably great. You gotta use it. Biting Aura, we use a lot of AoE effects. So, of course, we're going to slot this. And Backstabber, of course, we want to do as much critical damage as we can. And ideally, as a Nightblade, you're not going to be, face tanking the enemy while you're trying to bomb them. Red Tree, Boundless Vitality, we need that little bit of extra health. Of course, this is something you can swap out if you don't really want the health, because your glass cannon anyway, you're going to die more than likely. Siphoning spells, your recovery sucks. But if you bomb a group, having this on is going to make you go right back to full Magicka. I love it. Bastion, we don't actually use damage shields that much other than our Carve. And I just have this here for buffing that, to be honest. Celerity, I have that here just because I say this in a lot of my videos. The more speed you have in PvP, the better off you are, whether that's for your escape, whether that's for your engaging. Of course, with this glass cannon build, being able to zip in and zip out, it is just amazing. You can't go wrong with it. But that is all I have for you in a Magicka Nightblade Bomber video. If you'd like to see more of my bomb clips and more of my, content go towards bombing and Cyrodiil, I know that the White Strikes event is going to be coming up again at the end of June. I'm going to try to record more clips this time. I did have some from the previous event, but, being a noob, I didn't record as much as I should have, and that is definitely my fault. Nonetheless, I do hope you liked the video. I hope you subscribe to the channel. I hope you just, leave a comment and tell me what you think about the video and what I can do better for you guys. As always, I hope you have a great day, a great night, and I'll see you all next time.